I want everybody tell the government do not to drop this case. I want justice for Vincent. I want justice for my son.
In 1982, Chinese-American Vincent Chin was brutally murdered in Detroit in an attack motivated by racism. The violence, coupled with the lack of justice in the ensuing court cases, motivated the Asian American community, leading to a heightened sense of responsibility to advocate for the increased protection of Asian American rights in the United States. In 1982, Asian people in the U.S. were still dealing with the effects of World War II and some unfair ideas people had about them. During the war, over 120,000 Japanese Americans were put into internment camps, and this made Americans distrust Japanese people even years later. Japan's economy was growing great, especially with its car companies like Toyota and Honda. These cars were great, cheap, reliable, and fuel efficient, which made many Americans upset because it felt like Japan was taking away jobs, especially in Detroit, which was the centerpiece of American car industry. Two important people were laid off: Ronald Evans and Michael Nitz. Evans was working as a supervisor at auto parts plant in the Detroit area. Nitz was working with Evans. It was June 19th, 1982, the night Vincent Chin died. What should have been a night of celebration for his upcoming wedding turned into a tragedy that would shake the nation. Vincent Chin, a 27-year-old draftsman, was sent to marry the love of his life just in a week. That night, Vincent Chin and his friends went to a Detroit club for his bachelor party. At the bar, he saw two people, Michael Nitz and Ronald Evans. They were both at the bar, angry that they had lost their jobs. Evans began hurling racial slurs at Vincent, blaming him for the auto industry troubles, even though Vincent was Chinese and not Japanese. The confrontation quickly escalated into a physical fight inside the bar. Security intervened, kicking everyone out. But it didn't end there. Evans and Nitz grabbed a baseball bat from their car and went looking for Vincent. They found him outside a nearby McDonald's. There, in the parking lot, they dragged Vincent to the ground. Evans swung the baseball bat repeatedly, each blow fueled by hatred and rage and racism. Witnesses could only watch in horror. Vincent was left unconscious, his dreams of marriage and a future shattered. As he said, "It's not fair," his last words. 4 days later, Vincent Chin passed away in the hospital. Despite being convicted of second-degree murders, Evans and Nitz plea bargained for manslaughter and received no prison time, just 3 years probation and a $3,000 fine. The message was clear: Vincent Chin's life was worth less than justice. Vincent Chin's rights were violated.
On 3 years probation and given a $3,000 fine.
Justice for Vincent Chin!
And I just felt all of the blood and feeling in my body leave me. I just couldn't believe that this had happened.
The FBI has told CNN Detroit that it now plans an investigation into the beating death of Vincent Chin for possible civil rights violations.
I don't think any civil rights trial occurs unless there's pressure.
Kaufman believed that Evans and Nitz were acting on self-defense, but this article says otherwise from the Detroit Press, saying no act of self-defense. Judge Charles Kaufman infamously said, "These aren't the kind of men you send to jail. The injustice ignited national outrage, particularly among Asian American communities. For the first time, Chinese, Japanese, Korean, Filipino, and other Asian groups united in a shared civil rights movement. Protests swept through cities like Detroit, New York, and Los Angeles. Community leaders with organizations such as American Citizens for Justice demanded federal intervention. In a landmark move, the U.S. Department of Justice charged Ronald Evans with violating Vincent Chin's civil rights, arguing that Vincent had been targeted because of his race. In 1984, Evans was convicted in federal court and sentenced to 25 years. For a brief moment, there was hope for justice, but that victory was short-lived. In 1987, the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals overturned the conviction, citing procedural errors, including claims of jury misconduct. When the case was retried in Cincinnati, far from the Asian American communities that had railed for justice, Evans was acquitted. No one would ever serve a single day in prison for the Vincent Chin death. The legal battle revealed deep flaws in America's justice system, but sparked a powerful pan-Asian civil rights movement. Vincent's story became a rallying cry for equality, inspiring generations to continue fighting against racial injustice. Justice denied, but never forgot. Vincent Chin's death and failed pursuit of justice ignited a movement that forever changed Asian American activism. After the first trial, it pushed the Asian American communities, and they felt it was their responsibility to act on the cause because Vincent Chin's rights were violated. Organizations like American Citizens for Justice, the first pan-Asian civil rights group formed in the wake of Vincent Chin's death, they led charge not only for Vincent Chin, but to fight for equality for all races. The case also highlighted the need for visibility for decades. Asian Americans have been perceived as a model minority, hardworking, silent, and apologetic. Vincent Chin's story shattered that myth. His death was a stark reminder that racism did not distinguish between good or quiet minorities. It galvanized a generation of activists who embraced their voice, history, and right to be seen and heard. Vincent Chin's legacy extends beyond grassroots activism to art, media, and education. His story has become told in documentary, books, and classrooms, becoming a crucial part of discussions on race in America. Inspired by the tragedy, Asian American filmmakers and artists have used their work to explore themes of identity and belonging. Most importantly, Vincent's legacy endures because his story continues to resonate in the fight against anti-Asian violence. From the tragic events surrounding COVID-19 to other instances of racial hate, Vincent's name remains a symbol of resilience and the outgoing struggle for justice. Through his killers never served a day in prisons, Vincent Chin's legacy is not defined by injustice, but by the community that rose up in his name. It's a legacy of solidarity, activism, and hope. A reminder that even tragedy, voices unite, can spark lasting change. Thank you so much for watching.